Thing, I thought I'd take a minute and show you this. This I do without the valves in there because it's really hard to get real close to it for the sanding rolls, but man, have you got to be easy. All I do is come across and lightly dance. Now I can get a little action in the corners. This is what I call stoning, and it's way better than going in there with a sand roll and hitting it, because this levels it and takes the rough carbide marks. It kind of levels it, because if you don't do this and you take a sand roll to it, you're going to have little rumps and ridges in it even though it's polished, and this just kind of levels everything out. You don't use much pressure with this, just a little bit, and like I said, all you're doing is doing dancing. One thing I'd like to point out is look how much area I've got now. Remember how big and bulky that was? Little things like that is what makes all the difference in the world as far as airflow is concerned. And typically on these things, they're always to the high side of the valve. In other words, up toward the top of the 45-degree angle. We're going to pull that down and place it near the edge of the seat. So anyway, I just wanted to show you. I'll go in here with it. And this dramatically cuts the sand roll time, if not 60%, closer to 70. All I'll do now is hit it with a 50 and then pull it in with the 120 and then finally the 440. So anyway, just thought I'd show you that. I'll show you the next finish, which is the sand roll. As you can see, the stoning's done on the chambers. Had to use a couple of different size stones, but anyway, right now what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you real quick how fast that this makes a difference. Watch. Now, I can usually take that one sand roll and get 4 combustion chambers done. Pretty close. I might have to get to the 4th one and might have to switch. But normally, if you guys have DIY, you know what I'm talking about. The stones do cost a little bit, but over years of doing it, I have found out that's it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to finish this up in this 60 grit. Go to 120 and then we'll come back and touch it with a cross buff. Then the chambers are done, laid in, unshrouded, polished heavily, and ready to do the pre-bowl work. I say pre because I do a lot of raw cutting in there before I do the valve job. It's a lot easier on my stones to do it like that. So anyway, I'll let you watch a second. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to back off here just a minute and give you a heads up shot between the two. Now I'm hoping you can see a pretty good difference there of the shine, the reflection versus just the stone finish and everything. Now I haven't got up here yet. I'll show you when I turn it around the other way and we'll go from there. Okay, in this little final part, I just wanted to show you this is where I take the buff. And like I said, it just takes the lines of the 220 grit sand rolls and the leftover glue. Let's do it. As you can see, it really gets it. And man, this combustion chamber has been just so rough on my sand rolls, my stones and everything, because it's got all these creepy crevices and all that. But now we got a good smooth transition, surface volume ratio. The flame travel is going to be better. This was probably one of the main mods. I'm not saying it was 50%, but it's probably close to 35 to 40 of the thing of turning this from an anti-swirl combustion chamber to a tumbling air with a little bit of swirl combustion chamber, if there is such an animal. But anyway, I'll go in there and touch this up a little bit with the cross buff, pull into the corners, and the chambers are pretty much done. Next thing you're going to see is the bow work and precursor to the valve job. Now we're starting a new episode here. We're getting ready to do what I call the pre-bowl cut. Now, the reason I do this on them is, to be honest, it just makes it easier on my valve stones, and I can do a lot more precise valve job, because if the guides are extremely wore out in the heads, then even no matter how straight you try to put the guides in, if it off-centers it, then it'll start digging on the 60 more on one side than the other. So in that case, what you want to do is help it a little bit and go in here and cut some of that meat out so it ain't so challenging to it, and it does make the valve job go faster. Let me give you a look at what I'm talking about. Basically all it is, I'm going to go in here at kind of a steep angle, and I'm going to chop some of this out. I'm going to do everything I can to stay away from this seat. It's kind of a pre-bowl job, if you want to call it that. It ain't a whole lot of grinding, but I'm going to do my dang best to go in here and get that trench. If you've noticed, there's like a big dip trench, kind of like the small block Fords have. If you ever looked at a 302 Ford, you can see they got that big dip trench. That's where the factory used a 78-degree cutter, like a bow hog, to go in there and kind of do the bowls, which is one of the reasons the Mustangs run so good out of the box years ago like they did. So I'm going to go in here and recut this bowl, pull the sides in and set it up. I'll turn it on the other side. Then we're going to discuss this swirl in the port, which that is a major thing. We can talk about that now for a second. Got a little light on there. Look at that tab. Okay, to put it short, we saw how big the port is at 182 cc's, I believe, or something like that. And then all of a sudden, look how it squishes right here. I'll give you a better angle in a minute. And then it steps up, swirls, and comes around. What they were thinking, and it is true to a lot of degree, because they've been using this on diesels for years. I'll never forget when this came out, how everybody was like, oh, these are the new Vortec heads. This stuff's been around 30 or 40, maybe 50 years, where they swirl the air. Okay, but the thing is, they take a big, large cross-sectional area, squeeze it down, and they force that air to channel and become a terminal thing where it's swirling like a little tornado. The word Vortec comes from vortices. Vortices is like little miniature tornadoes. And you can see that tongue, that's where it stops when it comes up from the guide and tries to get it spinning so it'll bank off the chamber. Okay, I have redesigned this chamber, unshrouding it like that, and the reason I did that, and the whole trick to this game, is I've got to unscrew it. I've got to take that balance screw, try to give it some cross-sectional area, and let it breathe. One of the things I wanted to do was tube this head. I've been dying to tube a set of these. I've never done it. And when I talked to Philip McCullough, which he's the owner of these heads, he was after the gas mileage and low-end torque, and I would not lie in saying that if I do that, the gas mileage would suffer a little bit. The torque down low would probably be just tremendous. I would really love to try it. Maybe one of you readers out there got a set of these. You might want to do a stage 3.5. I would go out of my way to do it, probably give you a discount on it. But anyway, as it swirls and comes in, look how much it just absolutely cuts it out. Now let's get a straight down shot. Okay, now I've lowered the camera to give you a little bit better angle. And as you can see, look at that tongue there. Look how, let's get to the side. Look how over half of that port, see that wall right here? You see how it comes up? You can just see it. And that's the big giant bulbs where the head bolt hole is. That's where I'd put the tube and tear that wall out. But look how it takes that big giant 182cc port. It's got a giant deep bowl. It's real tall from the short turn to there. And then just spins it up and turns it. It's really an amazing head. I'm really fond of it. It's just we're going to unscrew some of it, let it have a little more cross-sectional area, bullet nose the guide, pull this out of the way, and you people just cannot believe the difference it makes. I've done too many of these on 350s, and I even did one on a 383, and it just makes a ton of difference off idle to around 4,000 RPM. This is not a high RPM head, but it will produce some killer torque and fantastic gas mileage. The other benefit, it does a lot for emissions. It really mixes the head. If you've got zero deck on a block to go with this, you could probably take the catalytic converter off and run it through emissions and it'd pass. Alright, anyway, let's get a top view of the bowl so you can see the material there. I'm going to go ahead and grind the bottoms and then we'll roll to the top. On the exhaust port, by the way, it's just a standard like all 350 Chevys. They did nothing there at all. Okay, I went ahead and done one bowl almost complete. And I'm going to show you 2 or 3 different points. But I've got right beside of it here the other bowl that on the bottom half has not been touched. And as you can see here, what you got here is a total movement of the wall. It's not just bullet nosing. I moved this wall completely over, then pulled it in on the bottom and totally opened this path. Now one way you can look at this, it gives you an idea, is look how streamlined the bit comes and it'll lay right into it. On this side it won't even fit in. See it? It locks. Whereas over here, she's got a good streamlined pull. While, yes, the bullet nose is done and reshaped, the tail, the leading tail is rounded radiused right here, pulled over. And the shape of the bowl is very dramatic compared to this one. Now, I'm going to bring you in on some close-up shots, so let's take a look and see what we got. I mean, you know, once again, we look at light reflection and all, sure. But look at the radius. There's the valve seat right there. Look how it's got to go way over the hump. It's like a giant half-an-inch fillet, if you will, and roll before it comes in. They're playing with this and swoop. Now, it's still got its swirl. Keep in mind, I'm not taking the swirl out. I'm just decreasing the amount of swirl. I still want it to swirl, but by doing it this way, I'm starting to spray it over here where they have this blocked off. It's still going to swirl. It's still going to come in because the way the design is, I didn't take all of the fillet out here. It's radius still some. But you couldn't believe how much better in wet flow. You will never see this on a dry flow bench make a difference. Now let's get up close and personal deep in because I wanted you to see something else that was done on the bowl in the trench area. Okay, remember the big ridge and like I was comparing it to a Ford? This is the only Chevrolet head that I've ever seen. Maybe some of you viewers out there can correct me on this. It's the only time I've ever seen this done. And this is just a giant ridge. Right there's the 60 and then it led up to the 45. And as you can see now on this side, it is all coming straight and is going to roll into the 60 and come in. Look at all this garbage in the way that they've done it. Wet flow characteristics has to be improved at least 20, maybe even 25% compared to this right here. So I just wanted to give you a close-up view. Look at how bad this is. There's that big ridge like a Ford 302 and then the hump and then now nice and blended and rolled, our big transition. Like I said, we are unscrewing the screw, but it ain't, I'm not trying to make something out of this head it isn't. Just want to enhance what's there and make it swirl a little better. Probably about 1,000 to 1,500 RPM higher. It's going to really work good where it needs to. If you had weight or whatever, gas mileage ought to really be increased. All right, let's back off, and we're going to shut that section off. This is the end of the bowls. That's that part. On the bowls on the Chevrolet exhaust on this are the same as any other Chevrolet. Nothing too particular to get into. I just want to go over that with a bowl, and now we'll concentrate on the runners. We'll go back in here when we're looking down the other side so you can see.